Let us go. Call to order tonight's, or welcome to tonight's regular Board of Finance meeting, Tuesday, July 14th. Let us call the meeting to order and begin with a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks for that. Okay, I think we all see a new face for tonight's meeting. Welcome, Karen Foster, to the Board of Finance. Thank you very much, Karen, for joining us. I want to thank Wendy Smith for her service to the board. Wendy was on the board for about 3 years. Wendy cares very deeply about Bethel and Bethel's residents, and that was always the perspective from which she came in considering our Board of Finance deliberation. So thank you to Wendy and best wishes in the future. All right, public comments. Use the raise your hand function, I guess, if you would like to speak. Okay, not seeing any folks wishing to make public comment. Let's go on to correspondence. And he said there are no correspondence. So we then move to the next agenda item, which is consideration of approval for the minutes of the regular meeting of June 9th, 2020. Give everybody a minute to look at those to the extent you haven't already.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from last month, regular meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passes. Next topic is the S&P report. It was attached as part of the meeting documents. I just wanted to highlight two aspects of this report. One is that we got a AAA rating. Our AAA rating was affirmed. And secondly, they basically are watching what we're doing, clearly, the rating agencies. On the first point, with respect to achieving a AAA rating, the report goes into great detail about all the uncertainty that is out in the general environment, right? The global pandemic, national pandemic. On top of that, some initial and continuing financial challenges with the state of Connecticut, and then our own little hamlet here in Bethel dealing with COVID. Irrespective of that tremendous amount of uncertainty, the rating agencies still gave us a AAA rating. A AAA rating on the long-term debt we're going to issue tomorrow and the short-term debt we're going to issue tomorrow, as well as a reaffirmation of the AAA rating on the debt that's outstanding. Achieving a AAA rating in this environment is a tremendous accomplishment. I think it requires some thank yous. What I'd like to do on behalf of the Board of Finance is first thank our town leadership, our Board of Selectmen. I want to thank Matt, I want to thank Rich, and I want to thank Paul. They've been at the helm for 10 years. Rating agency ratings don't happen overnight. They're based on a long track record of solid prudential performance. And clearly, that's what the rating agency saw in giving us our AAA rating. So thank you to Matt, again, Rich, and Paul. Also, right, this doesn't just happen at the board level. It happens by virtue of the hard work done by our finance department. So to Bob, Brad, and team, again, thank you. It is your hard work dealing with the rating agencies. I've had the pleasure of dealing with the rating agencies in my work life. They're a skeptical bunch, so it's not easy to kind of get them to see things the way we believe they should be seen. So thank you. And finally, thank you to this Board of Finance, and thank you to the predecessor Board of Finances. Again, this is not something that happens overnight. It's a long-term track record. So a little bit of backslapping and thank yous. That's the first first part of this report. The second part of the report, again, is that it's clear from the write-up that the rating agency is watching what we do. They notice that we have been holding our fund balance relatively flat for the last 5 years. And that's something that this Board of Finance has done intentionally, right? We paid off short-term debt. We began to pay for our capital items out of cash. That all kind of kept the fund balance flat. Frankly, the fund balance is too high. We have to continue to manage it in that way. The rating agency report makes clear that we have to do that in a very cautious and prudential way. Again, they're watching. Next year, we've got a big offering tomorrow. Next year, we'll have another offering. So we do need to continue to do what's best for the town of Bethel and do it in a way knowing that somebody is looking over our shoulders, making sure we do it the right way. Those are kind of just the comments that I hoped to make regarding the rating agency report. Open it up to anyone else on the board to get your thoughts or comments. Okay, Nick?
Yeah, I was gonna ditto you with obviously the leadership and, you know, with the steps everybody's made to be at AAA, it's a big deal, especially in this environment. You know, we just have to be careful. You know what I mean? I see it's 99 point whatever collection rate, but any kind of spending puts more on the taxpayer. So again, I think we can celebrate right now. Congratulations, and Matt and the selectmen and Bob Kay. You guys are doing a good job. It's just, we have to just, you know, keep up the good work. I'll say it that way. You know, and I think now, and I want to give Matt, you guys still see me or no?
No, see you, but we hear you. Oh, now we see you.
Are you there?
Okay. I'm back. You know, and I think Bob Dibble is involved in this fire truck committee. And boy, you know, with Matt's leadership, and I really want to pat him on the back for this, the way they went at it to get a company to evaluate and really know what's going on with this truck, I really thank them from the bottom of my heart. I think the selectmen and with Matt's leadership on this was the right thing to do. I actually saw him down there waxing a bumper this weekend, and that was a good thing. It was nice. I don't know how that truck got out. I have an idea how the truck got out of service, and there was a bunch of name calling and say the Board of Finance and the selectmen are jeopardizing this community. Down there jeopardized this community, taking that truck out of service. And I appreciate Matt for what you did to get that truck back in the bay. Now you are protecting the community, and I want to say thank you.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate that. I really do. And thank you to all of you on the Board of Finance for all of your work. Because you know, Bob is absolutely right. This board has done great work, and your predecessor boards have done great work. Because we have our disagreements on certain issues, but we've all worked together as a team. Previous boards have worked together as a team, and that's the only way you can get a AAA rating. So I want to thank all of you for what you have contributed to that. You've done a fine job. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
I had a coach who I think had a similar view to Nick's view, which is when good things happen, enjoy the moment. Tomorrow, the moment will be over and we get back to hard work. So I do think it's a good thing to pat ourselves a little bit on the back, understand we got to be vigilant going out, because really the challenges are still ahead of us. All right, next, I'm sorry, any other comments? All right, next on the agenda, I think, Bob Dibble, you're up with consideration for the truck. So I'll turn it over to you, Bob.
All right, I'm on. There we go. Yeah, so I want to replace our patch truck, 2001 Ford F550. I gave Matt and Bob some information on that. I think I seen it on the screen at one point here. If you wanted to pop that up real quick, there were some photos with it, and then we can go on. If you want to throw that, then we can go on from there. Okay. Anyway.
We have the material, Bob.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, there we go.
Here it comes.
There it is. Can you see it?
This is something new that just came in today.
That's great.
Yeah, so the truck's got 124,000 miles on it. We have had to do some repairs on it. 2 years ago, we had to rebuild the transmission and the four-wheel drive transfer case midwinter on it because of a failure there. And hydraulic system has some leaks in the valve bodies on, and part of that, the valve body leaks are occurring a lot because of the mag chloride that the state's using on the roads, and because they're made out of aluminum and cast metal. We've had some failures with that. We have some hoses leaking on it. But if you look at the pictures of the dump body, you can see how that body's in pretty poor condition. And that's an inside picture of the body. And if you scroll down one more, you can see the outside picture of that same body. So the body's kind of getting ready to fall in on itself. And that's in pretty tough shape. Now, I just want to, you look at the mileage of a vehicle, say, oh, it's only got 124,000 miles on it. One of the things you gotta remember on these vehicles, especially this truck here, which carries, this truck carries our hot asphalt during the summer for pothole patching and so on and so forth. And it also carries cold patch during the winter. And then we also use it for plowing snow. So that truck has, a ton and a half to 2 tons of material in it almost all the time. So to put that in some kind of a context, if we filled the trunk of your car up with rocks and bricks and what have you, until the back bumper was almost dragging on the ground, and you drove it like that where you had to drive with your foot to the floor every place you went, you would obviously wear your car pretty quickly. And so that kind of what occurs with this truck here. This is our most used truck. It's carrying a lot of material every single day. It's loaded in the evening. In the wintertime, it's loaded with coal patch at the end of the day, reloaded, and then it sits in the garage with the load on all night, so the material is kind of warm and workable when we go out in the morning. I can't tell you that the truck, was going to completely fail and, go on a record to the truck crusher in, 3 months and 5 days and 16 minutes or anything like that. But it's become a truck that's not very dependable for us, and also the condition is, a truck that's a frontline vehicle during the wintertime during the snowstorm. It's pretty important to have something that's in at least some decent condition. I have a few of these trucks that are getting old, and at 2 o'clock in the morning when, they're going back in the garage to get repairs done on them, it aches me a little bit. So that's why I'm kind of looking to replace this vehicle. So, I don't know if any of you guys have any questions on it while I can stop blabbing on about it.
Bob, if I can jump in.
Sure.
First, I want to commend you for being on Zoom. For a guy to have a phone, I want to give you the second part. I'm a little insulted because I have a bunch of red trucks that look like that. All right. So, that's a truck to me. All right.
Yeah.
But, I noticed you're getting a heated body. That's just heated through the sides with the exhaust, right?
What we're going to do is we're going to build a dump body that the floor of the body is heated, not the sides. The floor of the body is heated, so we can keep our hot asphalt, which is expensive, and we can keep our cold patch warm in the wintertime so it doesn't freeze in the back. Our biggest problem is cold patch during the wintertime. Even though we load the material in the evening and we put the truck away, you get up the next morning, go out on the road, and if it's 15, 20 degrees outside, that cold patch gets cold and frozen pretty quick. We try to keep as much moisture out as we can. So we're going to build a heated floor body for this truck. So one of the things that goes on is you can go out and buy a manufactured, what they call a hot box that slides into the back of the truck. So it kind of looks like a sander body, right?
Yep.
It has like a fuel oil system and a burner you would have on your oil burner in your house, right?
Yep.
And those things are pretty expensive. And, there's a lot of towns that use them, and, they're the size that we would operate $25,000, $30,000. And it limits the truck during the wintertime to just that for the most part. It's a few hours to take that unit in and out of the back of the truck. And I don't feel that how long those things last for what you're paying for them, I'm not too happy with. Most people are saying, between 10 and 13, 14 years or so, and they're burned out. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a hard ox steel floor, which is a heavy duty dump body floor. That's the floor that goes on the bottom of our trucks, and we're going to put plating on the bottom of that, and we're going to run the exhaust pipe. And this is a very old school thing. We're going to run an exhaust pipe into the chambers that are welded onto the bottom of the body, and the exhaust, we'll use the exhaust from the truck engine to keep the floor of the body warm. And the rest of the body will be made out of stainless. So the plan is, you know, if the chassis that's on wears out a bunch of years down the road, we'll take the body off and put it on the next truck.
Okay. And so you're going to heat it with the exhaust truck. And I'm sorry, without looking at the invoice, it's a gas job you're buying or a diesel?
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
we're gonna, and Nick, you'll follow along with me pretty quickly here. They had Ford come out with the 7.3, the old 460 engine. It was a push rod gas 460 cubic inch engine. They came out with it last year. They've had really good luck with them. There's been no issues with them. And the reason we're going to use a gas engine is because the diesel engine, when it regens, it'll run exhaust temperatures up, you know, 1,1300 degrees, maybe a little bit more than that every time it regens. When you put that kind of heat on the steel like that, no matter what that floor that body's made of, you're going to bend the body up, the floor of the body up on the truck. You know, heated floors have been in, you know, tracks, dump trucks, the whole asphalt for years. They've been around, and they've gone by the wayside because of the regen on the diesel engines. So we've done a little bit of exhaust temperature checking, and the hottest we can get an exhaust to run, you know, climbing up Hoyts Hill, the fully loaded truck, gas engine, is about 580 degrees, and that's very comfortably safe into where we need to be.
Okay. All right. And it's still going to have a snow plow. I see you're not
It's
using
still
fish.
gonna have a snow plow, yep.
Yep.
Yeah, it'll be just like the truck you see here. It's just it'll have a heated floor on it. It'll have a plow frame on it, snow plow, the whole thing.
Yep. Okay. I have no other questions. Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
Bob, what's the lead time on the order?
Probably between 12 and 14 weeks.
And you are saying that there's no real certainty as to what the remaining useful life is on the current truck. Could go.
You know, here's what I can tell you. The truck is pretty tired, you know. And if it's, you know, the last week of December, or the second week of January, something like that, and we're in the middle of winter and I have a failure, you know, and a big, you know, an expensive engine failure, say that the transmission that was rebuilt on it fails again. You know, you're going to pour a lot of money into that. You're going to be forced to pour a lot of money into that truck because it's wintertime and we need that truck.
Yeah, I take the point. On the other hand, I'm just kind of running through my own head, kind of along the lines of what Nick said earlier, which is we're only 14 days into the very first day of the fiscal year. So we've got a lot of the year left, got a lot of uncertainty as to what expenses we may or may not have. Cutting the right way, again, to Nick's point, is well, we thought we were going to have to spend 1.7 million on a fire truck. Thankful. Look, there are other questions about how a $1.7 million aerial truck went from jeopardizing people's safety to taking $11,000 to be fixed and put back online. But that's another question, right? We now have more capacity within our capital non-recurring. That said, we don't know what's coming down the road. So I'm just trying to play out a scenario where if we were to wait a month or two, so we're in September, let's say, and the truck, you know, things are a little bit more settled, knock wood, right, on COVID and all the other stuff. And we then say, let's order the truck in September. Maybe if we get an early snowfall, we're screwed a little bit. But if it's a typical year, maybe we still have time to get it in line for you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, because I still have to have that body built. So the bodybuilder has to have that chassis to number one, finish building the body on it, and then number two, install a hydraulic system in it, plow frame, snow plow, so on and so forth. So, you know, that way there, I mean, even right now, you know, I'm pushing myself into winter here nervously on you know, some kind of a delivery time on the vehicle.
I see. So all that other stuff is added on top of the 12 to 14 weeks?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought that was the 12 to 14 was inclusive of the body build.
No, what I'll provide the bodybuilder with is basically the back of the cab to the center of the rear axle dimension, and he can start building that body. But all the fitment and the subframe, all that stuff, the power takeoff off the transmission, the hydraulic valves, the hydraulic piping, hydraulic hoses, the plow frame, all that stuff has to be built and installed on the truck.
Mr. Chair, if I can make a couple of comments about this. Uh, just to try to give you some confidence, the Board of Selectmen are thinking exactly along the same line as you are. This truck was anticipated in this year's capital non-recurring budgets, so this did not sneak up on us. We were planning to do this, and Bob and I talked about this probably about a year ago in the planning process. But you'll notice that we're not coming forward with anything but the most urgent capital non-recurring request right now, because to Nick's point, the collection rate on taxes is currently 99.13%, but we're cognizant of the possibility that there could be a much more severe downturn. So we're holding back on things, and there's quite a bit of capital non-recurring in there, but we're not rushing into these things. We're just doing the things that make sure we can keep the trucks on the road when the snow actually does start to fly. So just to let the board know, we are being very cautious on these things, and we're keeping that in reserve just in case the world comes to an end and you got to pull money back. We'll be ready for that.
I have a question for Bob, if I could.
Yeah.
So Bob, the pricing on this, is this like, is time dated, or is it like you can only get this price in a certain time window, or?
This is the truck is purchased off a state of Connecticut Department of Administrative Services bid,
Okay,
and that's a 2020 pricing.
okay. So if you'd have to order it by the end of 2020 to get that price?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Well, but that's past this, right?
I didn't hear you.
Well,
June of 20. So are you saying, Bob, we're getting advantage of last year's pricing?
Absolutely. And I couldn't tell you what the increase is going to be. And the salespeople at the Ford dealership who work through the Department of Administrative Service, they don't know those numbers either.
Yeah, sure.
I've seen in the past, I've seen the pricing as little as, there was very rarely been, $500. Generally, it's a few thousand, and someplace in there.
And just to make sure we're all on the same page, it's $37,480.70.
It's 81,000.
30. Well, am I
No,
missing? The email I thought said focus on the 37.
That's correct. It's 37,480.70. Nick, the 81,000 you see is an estimate for building the other part of it. In 3 months, 4 months down the road when they build out the body.
But the truck, when they build the body, it's going to be 81,000.
Total, correct. Yeah, total.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so the all-in cost 81,470.70.
Yeah, and I'm working on that. I'm working on that price right. The bodybuilder's working on that price right now. We'll be presented at the budget, and so we're gonna, pencil's getting sharp, and we're working on that. So.
And just to stop for a second here, the truck, the cab chassis is 37.4, right, Bob? That's a yes or no?
Yep.
Okay. And then you've got 43, almost 44,000 for the body.
That's the body, the hydraulics, PTO off the transmission, snowplow frame, and the snowplow. Everest.
Is that a walking body for the sanding unit? It's got a sand.
Nope.
That body is you're going to spend 40,000 on a $37,000 truck to
Yes.
dress.
Yes.
And it's not a sanding body.
No, it's not a sanding body. If we were buying a sanding body for the low boy, we'd probably be talking about $112,000 for the same truck.
Really, that the sanding body on?
Unfortunately, they are, Nick. Yep.
All right, can you guys educate at least me? What's a sanding body versus a non-sanding body?
It has a conveyor in it, so you would dump it like you would fill the truck like a normal little dump truck. Okay, this is just a little mason body. You see the mason guys, and then it has a conveyor in it that pulls the sand not to the back, to the front now, and it has a spinner, a hydraulic motor. Then the sides collapse to get it all into the. It's like a sander built into the body,
Correct.
but that's not what we're getting. I mean, Bob, I can't believe it's that much money just to heat it. I understand that you're going to be doing truck work and putting exhaust into it, but it's a standard, a 2 or 3 yard body dumping with just some heat. in it. Is that correct? And on the
Yeah,
price?
the actual body itself is probably going to be around 15,000, maybe a hair more. The rest of that money's in a lighting package. It's in hydraulics, hot shift PTO system on it. You know, the new 10-speed Ford transmission. We put a PTO gear drive right off of that, and then run into a hydraulic system on it. So the side of the truck, you'll have a hydraulic tank on the frame. And then on top of that hydraulic tank will be the valving that controls the up and down on your dump body, your snow
Yeah.
plow up and down, turning the snow plow. The snow plow will have what we call a street frame, and that'll come from a manufacturer, for example, like Everest. So it's not necessarily a Fisher type snow plow. That frame stays on the truck all the time. And then the plow will come with that. So there's close just in the snow plow frame and the snow plow, you know, we're probably $17,000 or so.
Okay, but it comes with a new blade on the front of it also.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
9 or a 10? What is it?
The 9-foot plow.
9-foot blade. Okay. All right, I'm done. I can't believe the price, but I'm done.
Well, like I said, you know, an all-season body, Nick, you know, that same truck with an all-season body on it, you know, you're probably going to be about 112.
Wow, I didn't realize there were that much money. So.
Oh, yeah, they're huge money.
I have another question, Bob. So we have the request is 37,480.70 to build the cab for the cab, but why wouldn't that whole amount be requested at once if you're going to be putting on, you know, the body? Separate, why wouldn't that be one request?
We're going to,
Go ahead.
the quote for the dump body was a budget quote. And I need to go through that quote again with the body builder to make sure the pricing is correct on it.
Yeah, because I was hesitant for anyone to make a motion on something that we're not really sure what.
You're starting.
You know what I'm saying?
Bob, how long will it take for you to get a more buttoned up estimate?
Probably a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Well,
Bob, would you object, Bob Dibble? Would you object? Would 2 weeks kill you to be rock bottom, and then we all know improving?
I'm at the end of Ford's year for production right now. So basically, what Ford does now is they shut down production for about a month or so, a month and change, right? And then the next year's production trucks come out. So they won't take any orders for probably a month and a half or better. And then obviously whatever price increase comes along with that.
So you think it's important to grab the cab and chassis right now? And
Absolutely. You know, right. Because there's two ways to skin this cat. You know, we can put a dump body out to bid and then the body builder would supply a chassis that goes underneath it to meet our specs. The issue with that is the body builder, when he goes to the dealership to buy the truck, he's not going to have the purchase power that we have, right? So you're going to end up paying almost full buck for the truck, for the chassis, and then whatever his cost is to build that body plus his percentage of profit. This way here, because I'm buying it through the state of Connecticut bid system, you know, we're buying the truck at a rock bottom price, and then supplying the chassis to the truck builder, and that gives that, you know, that's one thing that keeps the price of the truck down.
Okay. Just so everybody knows that's voting on this tonight, it's 37.4 for the truck, and he's going to come back to us next meeting to dress it, to equip it. Right. Okay.
To make another request for the 40 and whatever, 40,000. Okay.
Whatever number he does better on. Right.
So why
It
not?
would probably be 2 meetings from now, but yeah, you're right.
All right, so Bob, what you want tonight is the 37,480.70
Yeah.
to buy the truck itself.
Yeah, that gets to be the chassis purchased now without any increases and also that weight also.
And Bob, the time frame on receiving that is 12 to 14 weeks?
Approximately, yeah.
So in a couple months, you're going to come back and say, this is my final price in the body,
Yeah,
this money now. So I can
yeah,
send it.
Okay.
I gotta go rough the guy up, you know.
Right. You're buying a truck, this year's truck off of the state bid. You're going to have the truck, and then you're able to go get it fitted out for the winter time. We got you.
Yeah, if everything goes according to plan, it will be.
So So Bob, what's your confidence factor in terms of this 43,990 being an upper end of what you would expect to finish up the truck? Is that it? Could it exceed that amount, or will your
I mean, I
expectations
certainly
down?
hope not. I mean, the guy that's building the guy that's building the body, he's very knowledgeable with this stuff. His bodies are built right in house. He's not purchasing a dump body from someplace else. It's water jet cut out of sheet steel, and he assembles the body right there. That's what he does. And he provided me with that price back in, God, it must have been December or something like that. So, like I said, I'm pretty confident of that number. And like I said, I mean, I gotta go beat the guy up a little bit, rough him up a little, and we'll see where we, I mean,
And just-
our fingers crossed, certainly that we're in that number.
And Bob, please tell me it's a stainless body. Is that correct?
The sides of the body and the capsule will be stainless.
How about
the
the
intent of that the intent of that body is to run it through 2 chassis at least.
is the scissor the hoist stainless or no? That's still mild.
No, the piston, the lift piston itself will be mild steel.
Okay.
It'll be mounted in front of the cab shield. Is that what you're talking about, Nick?
The hoist. Is there a scissor? The
Yeah, no,
hoist.
it'll be a 3-piston hoist that's mounted in the front of the cab shield.
Okay. But the body is stainless.
The body is stainless, yeah. And then the floor of the body is called Hardock steel, and that's
Right.
like a 300,000 pound Bernal steel.
Bob, can you just explain to everybody that the stainless won't rot like this, so you're going to get more than 7 or 8 years out of a body? Can you just explain to them by the picture?
Sure, yeah. The stainless steel is great in its place. A truck like this is basically carrying either cold patch or hot patch, which is just small, 3/8 stone with finer material mixed in it. And stainless steel does last a lot longer. The issue with stainless steel is if you use it in a dump truck that is out there carrying a lot of rock, larger material, heavy material, stainless steel is not a good choice, right? Because it's a weaker steel and it's easy to beat up, where this truck here won't see that kind of abuse. So it's worth it to put the stainless steel on that body, which obviously is a little bit more money, right? But the idea, the value of building this truck is to run it through a chassis, however many years that is, right? Now we're almost 20 years, right? And then run it at least run it through another chassis after that. That's the plan. I mean, not at an expense. We're not buying a gold plated what have you. I think we're just buying something that we're going to get a lot of life out of. It's not really expensive.
Guys, if you look at the picture, you see the sides are all rotted out. That's from road salt driving, and a mild steel painted body rots like that. And the body Bobby's talking about is stainless, and you don't get that rot. What Bob is talking about, stainless is typically thinner, and that's when if you load a lot of rock, you'll dent the body. But this truck's not going to get that kind of use. Is that correct, Bob?
Yep.
Right, any more questions or comments from Board of Finance members? If not, I'll make a motion to accept and approve the Board of Selectmen's recommendation to pay for out of capital non-recurring the sum of $37,480.70 for the dump truck that we've discussed.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, unanimous. On to the next topic on the agenda. And
Bob, can we take down the letter from Mr. Dibble?
I think Matt's got that. Matt, are you driving that?
No, I'm taking it down. Just give me just a second.
Neon's the host, she's got it.
That's great.
All right, next agenda item.
Right,
Thank
good night, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Next agenda item is a discussion of the salaries in the town charter section 10-9. By way of background, most of the salaries of the employees for the town of Bethel are outside of the Board of Finance's authority. We actually have, by the charter, this section in particular, 10-9, The Board of Finance has the authority over the salaries of 5 positions: the registrars of voters, the first select, the treasurer, and the town clerk. For the last few years, we have addressed the specifics of those salaries subsequent to the budget. So this time of year, the charter requires that we have to provide for any potential raise in the budgeting process, which we do through wage contingency. But then after the budget is passed, typically in the July, August timeframe, we go in and we discuss the individual positions. For so many reasons, this year is not a typical year. And so what I'd like to do maybe is talk about these 5 positions, but in 3 categories. The first category is the registrar of voters. I think we all remember that during the budget process, Nancy and Tim removed the requested salary increase from their budget. So there's, in connection with the registrar of voters, there's nothing really to do. I don't think any further discussion necessary other than to once again thank them for that offer, for that sacrifice. So that's the registrar of voters, one of the 5 positions. The next category, I put the first select, the select, and the treasurers all together. We've done a bunch of benchmarking around each of these positions. It was clear that our town, the salary that we've set aside for the first select position, is at the very low end of the spectrum of what that role gets paid in a number of comparable towns. Wasn't so clear, the benchmarking wasn't so clear in connection with the select positions and the treasurers. My own personal feeling is that these folks work hard. They should be compensated for what they do. That said, I just think that these are unusual times. And I think that we might want to ask the folks to, at least in the short term, make a sacrifice for the purposes of the town, given all the uncertainty. We don't make any raises at this point and come back later in the year when we have a little bit more understanding of the direction of things. And if that happens, come back and reconsider tonight's discussion. That's kind of my thinking on it, and I'd open it up to folks for discussion.
Mr. Chair, if I want to make a quick comment, and I'm going to bow out so you guys can talk, but I wanted to bring something to your attention, and I apologize. I didn't realize this was on the agenda tonight, because otherwise I would have prepared some numbers. But I want to put a word in for the town clerk's position.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what that's about.
Matt, I'm sorry. I think I jumped the gun a little bit. We haven't talked about the town clerk yet.
Well, I wanted to make you aware of something though, because she's had a change in responsibilities. And
Yeah, we're aware because we talked about it at another meeting. So, I mean, I know what you're going to say.
Well, did you talk about the train station?
Yeah,
No,
absolutely.
No, we did in our deliberations. We did not tonight. Look, I'm sorry. I kind of messed up the presentation. I wanted to talk about the registrars first because that was easy. I wanted to talk about the next 3.
Okay.
The first, the select, and then the town treasurer, and then talk about the town clerk last.
Okay.
So in connection with the category of first select, selects, and town treasurer, that's the category that I'm suggesting we don't do anything now, given the environment, and wait, come back later in the year and reconsider it, kind of having more facts and better understanding the circumstances.
Okay.
We're going to come back to the town clerk.
Well, if you guys are already aware of the train station situation with the parking and the fact that DOT allows some of that administrative
We
cost.
got it, Matt. We got it. We're good.
Okay.
Yep.
Good night, everybody. You guys have a good night.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Good night. So, I'm sorry, any thoughts on those 3 positions? First, the select and the town treasurer.
Yeah, I think that what you're proposing is fine. And then when we get to the town clerk, I have an idea about that. So yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Bob, just to be clear, I think that what happens is that even if we talk about those 3 salaries at a later date, the salary is still goes back to July 1st, beginning of the fiscal year, correct?
That's right, retroactive to July 1st.
Okay, thank you.
Well, okay, why would we do that? Why, if, it's like, because if it gets better, then, I mean, how do you quantify that with do you quantify it with unemployment numbers or with the collection rate? How do you quantify that?
No, it's a good question, Cynthia. I think that's something we'll address when and if we get there. We'll figure out how to make the number work to where we think it's appropriate.
Well, just because in normal salaries or whatever, they're generally assigned, it's through the budget, it's a year. I'm of the opinion that, if there's no raise, there's no raise. And then when we set the salaries again, then we talk about it, but not because there's just no way to quantify it, Bob, that's all.
No, I take the point. And that's the underlying theory behind why town council opined if any raise is made back to July 1st. It was part of the budgeting process.
Right.
And as Bob Kay will tell us if we ask him, right, we believe there's enough in wage contingency to cover any likely raise. The math of it, if we get to a point where we say, yeah, we really should do something, the math of it, I think we can figure out at some point.
And Bob, you put them in groups, and I appreciate that, but that doesn't mean we can't say the first selectman position, I don't care if it's a Democrat, a Republican, purple, yellow, or black, it doesn't matter to me, but if I feel that position should be a raise, that doesn't mean we have to give the other selectman or the treasurer a raise, right?
No, you're right. So yeah, the only reason why I lumped them together, and it was in an attempt to try to get through it quickly, in that all 3 of them we won't take any action tonight. So I just lumped them together that we'll take action at some point in the future, which may be do nothing for all 3, maybe do something for 1 or for 2, but there's no need to go in.
It doesn't have to be by categories, basically.
No, I just lumped them together because the registrar of voter category 1, they answered the question for us, right? They stepped up during the budget process and said, we're not going to ask for a raise. Then the middle category is this more, what I believe to be more complicated in a way, issue to consider in light of today's economic environment. The last category.
I don't know what the first selectman's salary is, but is there a set number, or we come up with that, basically, right? Is that correct?
That's correct. We said it. And Nick, it was Bob Kay, correct me if I'm not remembering this all correctly. I think it was 2 cycles ago.
Yeah.
We did benchmarking, and that's where we kind of realized where the Bethel First Select annual salary kind of stacked up against the salaries of similar positions for similar sized towns.
But Bob Manfreda, didn't we, I believe that it was 2 budgets ago that there was a significant raise on wasn't it like $5,000 or something?
It was $5,000. It took him from 90 to 95.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that, so.
And to be clear, with the benchmarking that we did do, that is still lower than the midpoint.
Not disputing that.
Yep.
Probably
No,
just
it's not as low as it was, but it's still lower than the midpoint for the towns around us.
Okay.
So Bob, I have a question in terms of this idea of deferring, and I wholly agree that in this climate, we need to suspend any decision in this area. But if we defer at this point, is this automatically something that pops up in an agenda, or we say we're going to talk about it in January? How's this going to work?
Yeah, well, it's a good question, Robert. My plan, we've got the folks who are on tonight's call who will remind us, right, when we develop an agenda. I've got it on my list. I keep a track list of risks, opportunities, and things to be discussed. So I'll put it on our list to discuss quarterly. So, we'll now look at it at perhaps the October meeting and see where the economy is, what's going on. But I'll commit to bringing it up again so it does not get lost.
Okay, and then the other part is, when it does come up, I remember the last time we considered it, we said, well, before we make a decision, we need to take a look at comparable towns and what first selectman salaries are and how do we compare. Will that be something that when we bring it up again, we'll have in advance? Or is that something when we bring it up again, we'll say, let's go get this information? I mean, how's that going to work?
I'll give my take on it, and Bob K. supplement, correct if necessary. What we did last time was pull that information off CCM, the database. So and that I think is able to be done pretty quickly. So we'll have that information if we are, or when we do discuss this again. If we are discussing this again. But Bob K., is that right?
I think so. I think that would be the way to do it, because if you're going to bring it up at the October meeting and say, okay, let's do the benchmarking, you're probably not going to do it again until November. So you're going to, another month's going to pass by. So if we have it ready for the October meeting, that would make sense.
I'm sorry, Cynthia, do you have your hand up?
No,
No. Robert, are you good?
Yes.
Nick?
So I go ahead, Nick, please.
Robert, finish.
Well, I just want to restate that I'm certainly of mind to defer this to at least the second quarter of the fiscal year. And then let's talk again as to the appropriateness of any type of an adjustment.
And thank you, Robert. And I just wanted to make a comment. I want to stay consistent. I don't think anybody deserved raises. The whole comment about if we got what we got last year, I'm sticking with it. But the big letter campaign writing, all the schools got their raises. So I'm going to vote against raises because of the pandemic. It's nothing to do with their job. I like to reward good behavior, like I mentioned with Matt with that fire truck. That was great. So I would be inclined to give him a raise because of performance. The selectmen and the treasurer, I get it, they're making meetings and stuff, but I don't like grouping them. I'd rather have everybody stand right in line and be judged. I'm not about grouping. So that's it.
we're not grouping though. We're not. So we are looking at them singly. Am I right, Manfredo?
Yeah, I group them just for purposes of production or presentation. But your point is, Nick, the right one, which is we have to evaluate each individual position separately.
I think he was, if I'm correct, that you were separating them out because the town clerk is a very specific one and the others were just, regular assessment.
That's exactly. And is that a good segue now to the town clerk?
And
Yeah.
there you
Good job, Cynthia.
go. Thank
The town clerk salary has been something that we've been considering for some time now. We were thinking about it before the budget process. Then we put it to the side again under our kind of typical approach of dealing with the individual salaries after the budget passes. Then COVID hit. And we all got kind of knocked off of our normal path. But I wanted to bring it up here tonight in that I do think it has a different fact pattern. And we should discuss whether we think the different fact pattern leads us to a different conclusion. And if we recall, the fact pattern is that some time ago, Lisa took on an additional role of, I'll just call managing the money, managing the receipts at the train station. And so where we were at the period just before the budget process was that I think Bob, you and Brad were going to verify in the, I guess you'd call it the train management agreement, that the increase, if we were to give an increase to the town clerk for this additional role that has been taken on, that it would be able to be taken out of the proceeds from the train station parking And it would not come at the cost to the town, or at a cost to the town.
Here.
And that's my kind of recollection of where we were, where we kind of left it. And so maybe to Bob K, to fill out the facts before we get into discussion, have you had an opportunity to look at that management agreement? I'm not quite sure what the official title of the agreement is. And then think about how do we put the math in place so that this, if we were to give additional compensation for this additional responsibility, it does kind of come to at no cost to the town.
Yeah, I mean, a number of months ago, I did look at the agreement. It does allow for payments to come out of the train station account to pay for administrative expenses, and this would come under that category. Lisa would still receive, the compensation she would be receiving would be a salary from the town, but we would have to transfer the money from the train station account to maybe miscellaneous income. That's something that, I want to talk to the auditors about. They're coming in next Thursday. And just the actual, fine tuning of exactly how we should do it. But by doing that, I mean, there wouldn't be any increase in expenses to the town. Our salary would go up, but it would be offset by the offset to miscellaneous income or another journal entry to another account. But I think miscellaneous income would make sense.
Yeah, would it not be, she'd have her salary, but then the extra money would be, it wouldn't be necessarily part of her salary in toto. It would be like,
A stipend.
yeah, sort of, yeah, more like that because it's coming out of her account.
She's an employee of the town, so if she's earning, let's say, $70,000 a year, and this represents 2,500, well, her new salary is going to be 72.5. Her W-2 is going to show 72.5, but that extra $2,500 is going to be coming from the train station account to offset that increase.
It would be sort of like when Wendy was doing the EDC and she was getting whatever, that there was an account that had, so it would come from two sources. Is that correct? I'm just asking.
That's right. Yep.
Though I think as a tax matter, this is where you're going, Bob. As a tax
That's
matter,
where I was going.
as an employee of the town, Lisa can receive only a W-2. We're not going to be able to give her a W-2 and a 1099.
Okay, that was a question.
So Bob, I have a question in terms of let's just keep with the $2,500 you mentioned. That $2,500 now is town revenue. Where is that going?
Well, it would go into the miscellaneous income account.
Right, but right now, I mean, you're going to talk to the auditors and see if we can move that to an account, a miscellaneous income account. But right now, where is that $2,500 going? Is that recognized as town revenue?
No, the train station account is totally separate. There's money in a separate account, okay, that the state can come in at any time and take 50% of the balance.
Oh, okay.
They have the rights to 50% of the money.
So it's sitting in an account which
Totally separate.
I see.
Just like the old train station account. We receive rent, and with the old train station account, we can only use that money in that account for the old train station, period. We can't use it for anything with the town.
And same as for the new
That's
train
right.
station, right?
Exactly.
We can use the proceeds only for upkeep.
Maintain the property, the lights, cleaning and maintenance, things like that. Yep.
So let me just ask this question. Have we, number one, ascertained what an appropriate compensation would be? And have we?
No,
Okay.
no, we haven't looked into that. I mean, this was just for discussion purposes
Okay.
right now.
Because
But didn't Lisa make a recommendation when she presented to us during the budget?
I don't recall, do you? And if so, what was it?
I thought it was 5,000, but
I have that memory too, Delene. That she put out the figure of 5,000. But I just wanted to say for Lisa that, I mean, she's literally like manning, it's like a one-man customer service department because She deals with everything and, people who lose their money in the kiosk and all kinds of stuff. So it is quite, I'm sure it's quite, it can be kind of overwhelming and that she should get definitely compensated.
Mhm.
And I think her analysis was actually based on the amount of time she spent
Yeah.
per week.
Mm-hmm.
So there was some basis to the amount. I don't remember the exact amount. We could probably ask her for it.
It was 5,000.
Well, why don't, I'll make a suggestion that we table this discussion to the next meeting. And in the meantime, Bob Kay, could you confirm the approach of getting the income into the town budget to ensure that, again, it comes at no cost to the town? And then maybe you and Brad, if you could, perhaps working with Lisa, come up with a number that you think is a number or a range that you think is appropriate for the work. I don't know.
Bob, because can we just allocate expenses like we do for other employees so that it doesn't affect the general fund expenditures at all?
Might be able to do it that way too. Yeah. Like
Is
with
that-
enterprise funds, sewer and water.
Then we won't affect the general fund budget at all if you take it as an income, even though it's still
the salary never shows on the town side and just goes to the train station account.
That's how we always worked the EDC when it was Wendy and now
Yeah.
when it's Janice.
It's a good idea. Look, I think we all agree as to what the concept is, right? To get Lisa perhaps more compensation for having taken on this additional responsibility. The plumbing of how we get that done, I think everyone's relatively indifferent to. Again, assuming Lisa gets the money, it doesn't cost the town anything. And then maybe again, Bob, you and Brad could think about what you think the right plumbing is, right? The right mechanic for getting it paid. And I would find it helpful if you also came up with some recommendation as to what you think the right number is or what the right range is.
Now, I would augment that request. I'd like to see what the right number that we would reassign into this income account. But I also like to know what other monies were going into this maintenance account to actually provide different maintenance services. Because it sounds to me like there's a pool of money there which the state can access. But some of that monies we do use for maintenance or update of the train station. So I would like a little more of a historic look at what we're doing with that.
So I can tell you offhand that anything that we can charge to that account, maintenance wise for that property, we do. So that's happening. Some years it's more maintenance than not. If it's the plowing that gets contracted out, we charge it to that. It's contracted out on purpose so that our town employees aren't having to plow that area because it can be charged to them. And it's a lot cleaner accounting wise if the state comes in and looks at it. So we're not coming up with an allocation. I know Lisa Berg did all the allocation on her time that she was using. And I do also remember that she was asking for an additional $5,000 to do this.
Okay.
So Brad, the question I have that's not related to Lisa is that if the state can come in and take 50% of this fund when they choose, is there a point in time at which the town can take profits from this fund as well?
No, the town has no ability to use the money for anything other than for this property. And in the 9 years I've been with the town, knock on wood, the state has not come in and taken any money for it. And they also did not liquidate anything from this account when they made the parking lot twice as big, which is when I thought they would have come in and taken some of the money for it.
So I guess the question then is there some type of marked improvement that we could make that would bring in more revenue or, I don't know, be good for the town in some way?
We did that when, and Lisa was instrumental with this, is when they put in the kiosk that somebody can do remotely from their phone, because then you have the issue that people would, instead of having to use the meter, if they take the train into the city and decide to stay longer than they thought they would, they could go on their phone and increase the amount of metering, and it cut down on some of the police having to go in and ticket that person.
Okay, that's great.
I have a question. If we're going to allocate money out of that account to pay the salary, does that happen one time per year for the full amount? Or is it coming out for each paycheck? Like, could we start paying her and then the state come and take their half the money and we run out of money?
So what we'd do is we'd allocate a portion of her weekly payroll. It's the cleanest way to do it, the accounting system, without getting into really specifics how much money's in there, because we don't really want the state to come and take half of it. There's enough money to pay her $5,000 a year out of that account for a long time.
Even 50%.
Right, anything else on this? All right, we'll pick it up our next meeting. Moving down the agenda, the last item is the discussion of the comptroller's report.
Okay, I put the report out the other day. Starting off with the revenue, you can see that our budgeted revenue was $77,991,000. We're coming in at $79,708,922, so that's an increase over revenue of $1,717,000. All the categories except for the category of charges for services are in the surplus position. Charges for services is down $160,000, and basically what that is Park and Rec and the Senior Center. We didn't have revenue coming in from those two sources. They obviously with the COVID situation, they had to shut down back in March, and there's no revenue from summer camp or any of the activities with the Senior Center. I mean, with the Park and Rec and the Senior Center shut their doors and probably won't open again until maybe next year. Looking a little further down on that first page, you could see that there was a drop just from, well, there was an increase in Park and Rec revenue from March to June. And what that represents, I think part of it is they're doing something, they opened up the camps, and it's called Camp in a Box, and some other activities like that. So that did bring in some revenue, 37,000 or so. But the conveyance taxes are up over that period from March through June. And also the building and zoning permits are up about 124,000 from 426 to 550. Our collection rate right now, as of 6/30, came in at 99.17. A really good number. We budget 98.7. So we came in a little higher than expected and pretty much in order with the prior years. And just a little bit on the collection of the real estate taxes. In April, there was about 109,000 that was deferred to June 30th. And out of that, only 19,000 right now is delinquent. Everything else was paid. Going into the July 1st payment, there was $220,813 that was deferred to October 1st. It represented the same people with an additional 3 or 4 or 5 people more from April. And 220 is a really good number considering the total revenue that we collect. If you move on a little bit to the next page with the expenses, you can see that.
Bob, I'm sorry, excuse me just for a second. I know we're early in the collection period for the first collection of fiscal year 21.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we've talked about that being kind of the next milestone.
So far, talking to Ann,
yeah,
the numbers are coming in equal to or a little bit better than last year. So we have escrowed accounts with the homes, and that represents about 54%. And that doesn't really come into probably towards the end of the month when the money is due. So 46% is non-escrowed accounts, and that money started to show up about a week or 10 days before June 30th. People were paying once their bills hit online or they received them in the mail. They started paying their taxes, and I believe prior to July 1st, we had about $4 million in at that point, that was really high, you know. So really excited about that, you know.
And Bob, thank you for that. Were you going to hit the tax relief, or were you going to go right into?
Yeah, I mean, I can do that now too. I mean, you can see that I put that on here, and I'm going to keep track of some of the numbers. But you got the elderly tax relief, the local, and the state benefits. That adds up to about $543,000. What that is that's an adjustment in the calculation of the mill rate. So we're given a benefit to. You have to be 65 or older. You have to have less than $48,000 in total income. But benefit given to those seniors for their real estate taxes. And in addition to the elderly tax abatement, which isn't here, is the veteran benefit. You know, and you've got roughly 46,000 on the local side, and on the state side, 224,000. So we're approaching close to $1 million in benefit for the senior citizens. And then when you look at the abatements for Augustana, Phineas Park, and Reynolds Ridge, that's a total assessed value, but those are reductions in the calculation of mill rate as well. So you subtract that out, I mean, that's another 100,000 or so in potential taxes that we could be collecting from that source. You know, so yeah, we'll probably right around $1 million in benefits to the elderly, you know, in the town of Bethel. So
I had asked Bob to present this information right during the budget process, which again, hopefully we never have to go through again. But during that budget process, we got categories of questions. One of the categories that came up a couple times was folks said, we need to do more for the senior citizens in town. And that's absolutely the case. However, I thought it was important for us to let people know what we are doing. To Bob's point, we're doing a relatively significant amount. It's over $1 million, close to $1.2 million. And when we went through and compared our program to the program of the surrounding towns, our town generally is more generous. So we can always do more. I just thought it was important to get the message out that here's about $1.1 million, $1.2 million of tax revenue that we are giving as abatements, offsetting the fact through abatements to folks who are in the senior citizen category.
And when you talk about the 48,000, I mean, prior to the elderly tax committee getting together and looking over the different items for the qualification of the elderly, there was no means for someone on Social Security receiving an increase each year to stay in the program. So just a 2% or a 3% increase in Social Security benefits, if they're right on the fringe of the 48,000, might actually push them off the program. And one of the items that will come up when we talk to the Board of Selectmen and then eventually to the Board of Finance is that we recommended to increase that 48,000 by the same percentage that there's an increase given to Social Security recipients. So that won't force them to come off the program in the future. If they're on a program, they'll stay on it unless they have other income from other sources that are going to increase over the $48,000. So.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Again, I just thought it was important to be able for the Board of Finance members to be able to address the question if we got it. I get it frequently. You know, what is the town doing for its seniors? And this is part of what we're doing through the real estate abatement process.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
Before we jump, any other questions from Board of Finance members regarding this? Okay, Bob, sorry. Thank you. Go ahead.
Right, that's okay. So moving on to the expenses. We came in at 76,173. We budgeted 77,991. So at this point, we're 1.8 ahead of schedule. But I gotta caution everybody that I mean, bills continue to come in probably to the first week, second week in September. So these numbers will move down. And just to go over some of the higher expenses or the negative expenses, when you see, like the Board of Selectmen or the Finance Office, those are increases in salaries that were budgeted under the not old method, but prior to any increases. So that difference in salaries are offset by wage contingency. When you go to professional services, it's over by 206. We have an ongoing court case with Duracell on their abatement, and it's not Duracell anymore, but the name escapes me right now. But the legal fees there has brought this account not totally up to 206, but it represents most of that number. When you look at Public Works, there was contracted services, and in there, the reason why that one's over is it's for engineering services for the sidewalk that's going to be put in from pretty much the train tracks going down into towards the Sycamore, down in that area. We have to pay for the engineering work, but the state will pick up the cost of the construction. So that's causing that account to go over. You look at the highway department, and there's a big surplus of 220,000. Well, there's 3 or 4 numbers that are big in there because of the winter. Our sand and salt were down 106,000, 107,000, and then the maintenance was down 66,000. So that represents pretty much that number in there. When you look at also the highway department, road construction was over, if you look at the specifics of that account, by 36, but that number has to be moved. It represents one of the streets in Bethel that was posted to the road account on the highway budget, but it will go to the capital account, and so that amount will actually come down to 0. And then building maintenance, we had a couple of big items. I mean, if anybody was in prior to COVID, you knew that the elevator was hardly ever working. And we have 3 elevators in town. 2 are on either side of the town hall, and 1 is on the library side. And maintenance on those elevators ran us, I think it's about $60,000. And that represented the bulk of that shortfall. Elevators was 57,420. And then there was an additional amount for Edgerton for the HVAC system in the town hall for 21,000, which we didn't expect to have. So you put those together, and all of a sudden, that number in building maintenance of 80,000, those 2 items pretty much represent that whole item. You look at the tree warden. I mean, it's for safety purposes, and we have to cut down trees. So it overran by $23,000. The emergency management, I mentioned this the last couple of months. We didn't get the opportunity to buy the tower that's up on Spring Hill, and so the lease agreement went up. But when we established this budget, we were looking into buying that tower, and then they decided to sell it to someone else. So the increase was about $17,000 on the lease agreement. The police department, we finished up that contract with the police, and so you got retro in there for 2 years in the current year. So all of that's in wage contingency, but it shows up as a negative for basically the salaries. And then moving on down, one big number that will kind of show up is the Education 460 account. It looks like it's overrun at 282,000, but that's the chiller that's being that was fixed at I think it's Berry School. No, not Berry, but the middle school. The middle school. We accumulate all the money in one account during the course of the year to make it easy to transfer it out once the project is completed. So that 282 will come down to exactly roughly 450,000, maybe a little bit less. So they'll be in line. And the Board of Ed is showing like 1.3, but I think right now, and Terry can probably talk to that, that number will come down to something a lot smaller, because they too continue to get bills until the end of August or early September. So the 1.8 is a great number right now, but I think it's going to be down somewhat, but we're still going to have a nice surplus overall. Revenue is revenue, so it's going to stay at that number. I'm not sure if it's going to go up anymore, you know, but I think overall we're in pretty good shape. Couple of things I just wanted to bring up. We always talked about during the budget process, especially behind the scenes, Matt and myself, and sometimes I think I might have mentioned it to you, Bob, the SROs that are at the schools. I think maybe there should be, and I'm not saying to do anything right now or in the next month or so, but there should be some consideration given to how we charge that out. Do we move that over to the Board of Ed side, or do we do one and leave one on a town side? It's something that, you know, maybe we should have a discussion on. I know the controllers in Fairfield County, they always, this question does come out, how do you handle this? And it's either way. Some do it, you know, where the town is paying for everything. Some do it where the school system is paying for it, and some it's 50-50. So, you know, I just want to throw that out at this point. So, and then we talked about Lisa's salary, I think pretty much that's it for me. Oh, tomorrow we have a band and a bond offering. Bob had mentioned that at the early part of the meeting. We're looking, obviously with the AAA. New Milford just sold some bonds and bands today. They're a AA plus, one notch below us. They sold 10 million, 20 years, and they got 1.64%. I'm hoping that's the high side for us, and maybe we can get 1.5, 1.55, something like that. I don't know, you know, somewhere in that range. The bands, they sold $9 million for 1 year, which is the short-term notes, AA plus as well, and they got 0.41%. And again, you know, if that can be our, you know, a high water mark, I mean, maybe we can come in at 0.35. You know, that would be incredible. You know, because last year at this time, the short-term note went from 1.255. So I mean, it's almost 90 basis points less. You know, don't want to say it's free money, but it's getting close to that. It's getting close to the point where, I don't know, 5 years ago we got it for 11 basis points. And I mean, I brought it up before. And you couldn't get us 10. You know, come on. You know, so. But so we're looking forward to that tomorrow, 11, 11:30, 10:30 to 11, and I'll send out an email and let you know how we did. So I think that's about it for me.
So Bob, when you launch the offering, how long before you know what the results are going to be?
Right then, the sale, I believe the bond goes first at 10:30 to 11. We'll find out at 11:05. And then the banner's 11 to 11:30, and we'll know right at 11:30 or so, 11:35. I don't know how many borrowers came in on this, but I can say the Muni tracker that was put out last week, when our issuance first went out, and it was I think on Tuesday, there was like 350 looks, and then a couple of days later, we're into the 500 range. So, I mean, there's a lot of people looking at these offerings right now, and I'm hoping we normally get 3 or 4 or 5, but maybe we'll get, you know, 7 or 8, you know, and all the big boys are out there looking at our number.
All Manfredo's friends, right?
That's right. And Bob can talk better to this than I can, because this is his background, you know.
Yeah.
Well, it goes back to the opening comment. This is really, again, another testament to the good work of the folks done in the town. To Bob's point, there were over 410, I think. So it might have been like 411, 412 individual looks at our bonds. And then we had people coming back for second looks. So it looks like, it appears there's a tremendous amount of interest. So we should do better than New Milford by a little bit, right? Given that we're a notch above. So.
Right.
Keep our fingers crossed for tomorrow.
I'll let you know as soon as I know.
Great.
Any other questions for Bob or for Brad? Not,
Good report. Good report. I like the expansion that you did, Bob. Thanks very much for that.
You're welcome.
all right. Not hearing any other comments, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Need a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're done. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thanks.
Next,